What is going on, y'all? This is your boy Saint Irving. Today we are going over Toshiro's gameplay and his archetype as a keep away character. Toshiro is a prodigy, coming in as the youngest captain of the Goten 13. And he's got a lot of range to him, he's got a lot of techniques, and we're going to go over just how to play with him best. But first,
run that shit back!
So over the holidays, we saw a lot of Toshiro gameplay, and although at first I was a little bit miffed seeing him get his ass beat by Yoruichi, after seeing him do a proper fight with Gin, I realized he actually might be really good. Toshiro is described to be a character with many excellent projectiles using his Zanpakuto Hyorin Maru. He is strong in keeping his opponents at bay from a mid-range and jumping in when he sees an opening to attack them. His special flash attack is a long-range projectile and is important as a way to keep distant opponents at bay. By continuing to attack without allowing the opponent to attack, he enters a Tenso Jurin state, which improves the performance of some techniques, allowing him to attack his opponent all at once. When we look at his battle stats, it shows that he is an ease of use 4-star character, meaning he's not too difficult to pick up, but he will take some skill. His attack is a 4, speed is a 2, range is a 4, durability is a 3, and technique is a 3. As a keep away character, he has zoning abilities, he has a focus on distance, and he punishes aggression if you know how to seize opportunistic timing. With him, it's going to require patience and strategy, and that's really the irony here because Toshiro is known for being a hothead despite how cool his Zanpakuto is. I mean, it's really going to be a matter of pacing yourself with the battle, going with the flow, and basically maintaining your distance while also being aggressive. You do have to keep the pressure on because of your particular abilities, which we'll go into in a moment, but you'll have to understand that you have to keep at a certain distance and really only go in for the kill when you know you are assured the win. So when you look at the signature move, Icicle Piercing, it's an attack that creates icicles at the opponent's feet. By holding down the button for a long time, you can charge up power and extend the range. This can be used to intimidate the opponent or can be used as a setup, so that way you can set up a combo string. It's just going to really depend, but you're going to have to decide when's best to use this. The good thing is because you can charge it up, you can often fake out an opponent and make them not realize what the timing is really going to be, and then, you know, bust it out when you really know, okay, hey, this is an opportunistic time, even if it's just a fake out, even if it's just a bluff. With your spiritual pressure technique 1, Frost Heaven Ice attack, it rains down an ice block above your opponent's head. Since it can attack instantly even at long distances, it can catch the opponents without missing an opening. Especially because your spiritual pressure techniques happen in an instant, basically if you know that they're going to be doing an attack, you can time it exactly for when you start seeing them do one, and then take advantage. We've seen him use this technique a few times, and it seems that with this one you can of course dodge it. You have to be careful because you don't want to waste your technique, but this can be very opportunistic as you're closing in the distance to kind of just either make them dodge and then attack them, or you can use it to scare them into backing away. With your Ice Dragon Renbu, it attacks by charging the Ice Dragon forward. The Ice Dragon has excellent range and charging speed, making it easy to hit an opening in the opponent's actions. So essentially, if you see that just like the first technique, your opponent is doing an attack, you can take advantage of it and unleash your Ice Dragon. It also seems that this is a good back away technique, in where if the opponent is closing in on you, you can use the Ice Dragon to push them back, so allowing a keep away technique. Now, your Ice Dragon is likely going to be your 100-point technique, while your Spiritual Technique 1 will likely be your 50-point technique. With your Awakening Bankai, Daiguren Hyorinmaru, by unleashing his Bankai, his abilities are strengthened. The rate in which his Tensou Gyurin state builds increases, further improving his abilities to push through opponents. What you have to understand about Toshiro is that with his abilities, as he explains in the Arrancar arc, there is not much of a difference between his Shikai and his Bankai. This is lore accurate as fuck. Basically, all that's really happening is that he can accumulate his ice better. So essentially, he's not getting much of an attack buff, he's not getting much of a speed buff. What he's really getting is he can build up his power more. It helps to understand his heavenly phase gauge, which is his Tensou Gyurin state, and basically what it means is that if you keep landing attacks and fill up the gauge, you will enter Tensou Gyurin state, and some of your techniques will be significantly strengthened. If you don't land any attack for a certain amount of time, or if you're hit by an attack from the opponent, the gauge will decrease. What this means is that you can deal damage, and that further ramps you up. That basically is a snowball effect, and where the more damage that you deal or the more attacks that you land, the stronger you become until you've reached your maximum capacity. The gauge also goes down if you miss attacks for a certain amount of time, so try not to swing for no reason. The more attacks that you are dealt, the less powerful you are. This really plays into the kind of character that he is. The more weakened that Toshiro becomes, the less power he's able to exert. You see this in some of his battles where he says, I've taken a lot of damage, I may not be able to do this. Because he works in the way that he really has to be at full capacity, he doesn't do well taking damage. But on the other hand, because he's such a prodigy, he has a lot of power potential and where he can release a lot of damage. So basically this is all displayed through the abilities that you see here. It's very nuanced, but it's incredible how they've been able to create the character basically to fit exactly how he is in the source material. It's a wonderful concept. A lot of people compare him to Grimmjow, but I'd like to make the distinction. Grimmjow can take damage and actually gets stronger as he takes damage. Also, he self-inflicts damage as well. Versus Toshiro, who doesn't act like a masochist, he can't take that damage. So the difference here is that yes, they both have gauges in where it is damage based, but the difference here is that Toshiro, his gauge will only increase if you are the one doing damage and will decrease if you are taking it. Versus with Grimmjow, whether you're creating your own damage or receiving damage from the opponent, he will be having a buff. So there is a slight difference there. Basically, if Toshiro was fighting Grimmjow, any attacks that happen to Grimmjow will help him. But any attacks that happen to Toshiro will make him weaker. So he's very much at a disadvantage in that sense. That would be a very interesting fight to see, especially because Toshiro would have to keep him away, and Grimmjow is going to be very aggressive and very in his face. So that would be a really cool fight to see between an expert Toshiro and an expert Grimmjow. Toshiro is one of those characters where you have to control the pace. You cannot let them get a foot on you, because then you're going to have to chase your opponent down. You're going to have to be being aggressive, and you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're staying in control of the battle. Safety, because you're keeping yourself out of harm's way. You want to make sure you're maintaining an optimal distance. And with efficiency, you're going to want to make sure that you're effective over time. You're going to need to know that this is going to be a long game and that you're slowly wearing down your opponent as you build some more strength. Your weaknesses are close range vulnerability, so you're going to need to make sure that someone like Yoruichi isn't getting in close. Make sure when you're using Toshiro, flash steps are your best friend. Because you can't really get in close with a dash, or you won't really want to unless it's favorable, flash steps are going to be your next best thing. So that way you're able to do a quick get in, hit them, get out. While you can do a lot of damage yourself with close range abilities, a lot of your techniques are going to be projectiles because of your keep away archetype. So you're going to have to understand exactly what your range is for each attack maybe do some lab work in the training field to see, okay, hey, this projectile goes this far, this technique goes this far, because a lot of your techniques are going to have a certain range, especially with the fact that your range is a 4. You'll have to know just what your spacing is and the limits to them, because someone like Gin is going to have a slightly superior range to you. And so you might be at a disadvantage with him, being that he can stand far away from you and still keep you at bay. So in this case, you'll need to stand closer. So with Gin, you're going to be inching closer to him so that way you can find a way to get in. So that's what makes this game so interesting. There are some characters where you're going to need to be all up in their face, and others while you pace back and say, no, you know what, they're going to come to me. Like Yoruichi, she's always going to need to come to you. But you also need to be patient because you'll need to wait for her to make a mistake. She's much faster than you. So it's these things that you have to consider. Toshiro is a fan favorite amongst so many people that I do expect him to be in ranked and for a lot of people to use him. But a lot of people are going to struggle if they don't understand these basic concepts that we've explained. So the more you know the character and his playstyle, the better off you'll be, whether you're fighting against him or fighting with him. Let me know if this has helped you. This has been your boy St. Irving. I'll be doing these guides on a regular basis, and I hope I catch you on the next one. Peace.